I think that's where my anxiety comes from and why I don't do so much, because I'm like, I have to preserve myself as long as I can, to be here for my kids. Yeah, that's a stress. And we all the moms of the special needs children who they know that we are their caretaker,
and
essentially.
And we all have an expiration date. And
we all have an expiration date. It's the
so
fear of
think about.
And the sadder, and I hate to say the sadder thing, but because I don't like a pity party, but I battle with, am I going to go before him or is he going to go before me? Because of his heart. And
the thing about it is both of them are just as sad.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I don't want my child to be mistreated when I'm gone.
Yeah.
And I want him to have the same care.
Yeah.
But I know no one's going to provide that for him. But then it's like, I don't want him to go first because that would break my heart.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the B4Real Podcast. Normally on this podcast, I like to talk about, people who are doing great things in life, which this person is. And I like to shed light on them and give them their flowers and also give gems and jewels to people who are listening in order to catapult them into their version of success. But I met a young lady that has a collab studio, a studio that she's just opened in Beaumont. And we were at her studio and she was saying, maybe we could discuss something different and just talk about, life. And today I want to do that. And I want to talk about her experience being a mother of two special needs kids, correct?
Yes.
So today,
a mother of three, two special needs.
So today I have Yasmine up in here with me today, and she's going to give her spiel on being the mother of two special needs kids and just have dialogue with me today. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate. I know we're here.
As you can see, that the setup is a little bit different. I am now at the Collab Studios. I have to shout that out. It's a great place in Beaumont for creatives to come and just mingle and work together, edit, record, whatever, take pictures of and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
that's it.
Yeah, so just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am Yasmine, and I am from all over when everyone asks me where I'm from, but we'll say the West Coast.
Okay.
We are here, as you mentioned, my special needs children, for my husband's job, but we're staying here because of my son needing to be close to Texas Children's Hospital.
Which is in Houston.
It's in Houston. Yeah. So Beaumont, it's only an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. And I really liked Beaumont. I like the kind of small community feel that, I got here. So what better way to stay and open a business and just... Here I am.
So you never stayed here before?
I've lived here now for 2 years.
Okay.
But I've lived in Texas. I've lived all over Texas, West Texas, near Katy, Lake Conroe, all the areas. My husband's job has us traveling everywhere. I've lived in a lot of the country. So I've experienced people of the whole United States. It's great. Yeah, I love it.
Got you. So we can get started. So what is, can you tell us a little bit about the condition of your children and things like that?
Yeah. So we are probably most familiar with autism.
Okay.
They both have autism.
Gotcha.
Recently diagnosed.
And how old are they, by the way?
So 10, I'm about to forget because I have too many children. I feel like 10 and 6.
Okay.
And they were recently diagnosed. So January, the 6-year-old was diagnosed, and in November, the 10-year-old was diagnosed. And actually, the 10-year-old's diagnosis prompted the doctor to say, well, let's just test Silas as well. So we did. Not that it was a shock to me, honestly.
Oh, because it's your child. You're with them all the time, and you notice if they're like different or catching on differently.
And I have a typically developing son who's 17 years old.
So you know the difference.
I know the difference.
Okay, got you.
Now, on top of the autism, my 10-year-old son has a genetic condition called Williams syndrome. It's really rare.
Okay.
It is a deletion of genes from the 7th chromosome. So he is missing genes that affect different parts of the human body as a normal human body. So he has some heart issues, some lung issues, developmental issues. So for many years, we never had the autism diagnosed because Williams syndrome is really characterized by a lot of things that kind of mimic autism.
Really?
So the doctors were just like...
syndrome, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
The Williams syndrome affects like mentally as well?
It does.
Okay.
So it's almost like a spectrum. So I've seen Williams syndrome people who are very capable and very functioning and very verbal. Mm-hmm. And then there are other ends where they're a little bit less, like my son, where he is nonverbal, more like an infant, essentially,
Really?
As a 10-year-old.
Okay.
He is more like a 2-year-old.
Gotcha.
So, it's a little bit of a spectrum. So that's kind of why we never got that dual diagnosis there.
So you were more focused on
the Williams syndrome.
Okay.
It had so many, and honestly, his health, his heart was the main focus because, needing heart surgeries, right? In and out of the hospital anytime he gets sick because his lungs and his heart just can't maintain.
Wow.
When he gets a respiratory infection. So it can be pretty trying. And so we were just trying to navigate Williams syndrome. Mm-hmm. And then we got these other diagnoses. So now we're just trying to navigate the autism, the Williams syndrome, doing what's best for them and for their abilities, making sure my oldest son isn't left out because now we're, having to like do so much with the little ones.
He's going into that threshold of being an adult and
yes,
it's things that,
hard.
He wants you to be excited about for him and you try not to.
Sometimes I'm in the hospital for a week with his brother. Yeah.
But at the same time, if he was like an older adult, you'd be like, that's kind of selfish for him to think like that. But I'm pretty sure you understand that
he's still a child.
Yeah, and you don't want to rob him of his childhood,
right. And you don't want to take the tension and focus off of him and the great things that he does because of his brothers, and then the fact that he really has to help a lot with his brothers.
Wow. Okay, I didn't think for that. Perspective.
He is their big brother who does so much for them.
Gotcha.
So he really, is amazing as far as a big brother to special needs kids. He's so patient with them. He's the only babysitter I trust.
Wow.
So,
that's understandable.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't have the patience to deal with not just autistic kids, anybody who has any type of special needs.
It's hard.
It's like you don't trust them to give that same care that you would or have the same patience as you would.
And as their mom who loves them, who would die for them, I lose patience with them, so I can imagine somebody who doesn't have that same level of bond with them, how easily they could. Because, it is, I don't ever like to complain because, it's fine. We all have our trials and tribulations in life and it's up to us to, work our way through it. But it can be difficult. We are isolated a lot of times because it's like, if I come to your house, for a gathering with my son, one, I have to worry about exposing him to sickness. But two, where am I going to change his diaper on your bathroom floor? There are, he only eats so many things. So we have to make sure we have the food. So there are so many different, aspects that kind of prevent us from living a normal life. In a sense, with 2 or 3 kids, you would think, oh yeah, you have 3 kids, and it's just so much different than everyone else, right?
So
right.
I want to take it back a little bit. So like, not when you got the diagnosis of Williams, or when you got Williams.
Yeah, Williams syndrome, exactly.
And the diagnosis of autism. Mm-hmm. When you first noticed that your child was different, like how did that make you feel?
Well,
and what were you going through at that time?
Honestly, I found out that something was going on with the baby when I was I was like a week away from having him. And we had a last minute ultrasound. Okay. They didn't know exactly what was wrong, but they knew something was going on with his heart that wasn't normal.
Okay.
So they decided to let's do an emergency C-section. Mm. And the doctors did not know what to do with him. It's such a rare condition that they really had never seen, what he was presenting with. And it wasn't until we were released from the hospital and had a follow up with the cardiologist when he was about 3 weeks old that she was like, you know what? I think he has Williams syndrome. His characteristics of his heart and kind of the way he looked matched it. And she happened to 20 years before have a patient with it.
So the Williams syndrome not only affects you mentally and stuff like that, is also physically as well.
Yes. Okay. So similar to how Down syndrome has characteristic traits, right? Williams syndrome does similarly. They typically, the books characterize it as like elfin traits. They have smaller features. They lack of
say that again.
Elfin, like an elf. Like an elf.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, so they lack a nose bridge. They have big, wide smiles. So there are characteristics
that you
of
can
it.
Tell.
Right.
Okay.
And of course, when she told me, she said, we'll need to get a genetic test. I didn't want to stress myself out. I was already dealing with a baby who was sick, so I didn't do any research until I had a real diagnosis. Mm-hmm. So we had a test done. It's called a microarray test, and it tests for genetic conditions. Right.
But it can't pinpoint what it is, but it can tell you.
It does pinpoint what it is.
Oh, really?
So when he had that test done, the doctor said, if he's positive, I'll call you. If not, it's not, so he called me and he said it was positive for Williams syndrome because, like I said before, there's a deletion of genes. So when they see that those certain genes are deleted from that chromosome, they know that is a syndrome that is involved.
Wow. Okay.
So we knew at 3 months old that he had Williams syndrome. And I think that I was so consumed with, because he was such a colicky, sick baby, and my husband worked out of town. I was just trying to push through it that it didn't hit me until I really started seeing other people with Williams syndrome as they grew. Mm-hmm. That I kind of was like, whoa, like, my son's gonna have to be with me forever, probably. Yeah. He'll never have a normal life.
That was at about what age?
That was, he was, I would say maybe around a year when I really started.
So you knew early.
Yeah, I knew he had the condition. We kind of just pushed through, but then it's like at 9 months he doesn't sit down by himself. Even at 3 months he couldn't hold his head up. Wow. So we're like, I can start seeing the delays that is caused by the Williams syndrome. So I think that's when my eyes opened. Like, wow. I don't have a normal baby. It's not just, because the doctors kind of, I'm sure didn't want to worry me and mention like, oh, it's, he may have some learning problems.
They didn't say it like that? Or they was straightforward?
They said it like that. They weren't very straightforward. So it wasn't until, so I kind of was
upset at that time.
Well, yeah, I felt like, you made me feel like it was nothing, but this is a huge thing. Like everyone's life is impacted. It's a huge thing, not only because we have to live here in Houston to be close to the hospital, but the medical bills, the hospital trips, just dealing with the child who isn't normal. There's a lot of stress, and I think we all manage it in our own ways. And then we have Silas now, who, although he's autistic, he's very high functioning, so he really helps.
So he's verbal.
He is not. That's where he kind of lacks. He's
He's not verbal, but he can communicate nonverbal, and his understanding is okay.
So it's a little vice versa. Okay. He can't communicate very well, like not like a typical 6-year-old. He can tell you what he wants, and you will understand him, and he can talk, and he can sing all the songs, but if you were to say, hi, what's your name? How old are you? He may just look at you and say, and run the other way. And, so he doesn't have that understanding of like social communication. He's like both of them. They are verbal, but they're non-communicative is kind of the way I like to put it, because they can talk, but just in a sense where Silas is understandable, Sheldon not so much, and then very infantile, with Silas is getting much better with speech. Sheldon is still pretty, you'll know the songs he's singing.
So your 6-year-old is more advanced than your 10.
Yeah. So my 6-year-old is pretty much functioning on the same level as the 6-year-old, aside from his speech.
Got you. So like, as far as like the way all of this is, because I know there's a lot going on. It's like, it's mentally frustrating sometimes. And sad and stuff. So like, how does it make you feel? Because you have to, I can only imagine having to deal with the fact that your child will never be able to be on their own. And not only that, but the fact that you're not going to be here forever.
I literally every day of my life have that fear. I think that's where my anxiety comes from and why I don't do so much, because I'm like, I have to preserve myself as long as I can, to be here for my kids. Yeah, that's a stress. And we all the moms of the special needs children who they know that we are their caretaker,
and
essentially.
And we all have an expiration date. And
we all have an expiration date. It's the fear of the, and the sadder, and I hate to say the sadder thing, but because I don't like a pity party, but I battle with, am I going to go before him or is he going to go before me? Because of his heart. And
the thing about it is both of them are just as sad.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I don't want my child to be mistreated when I'm gone.
Yeah.
And I want him to have the same care.
Yeah.
But I know no one's going to provide that for him. But then it's like, I don't want him to go first because that would break my heart.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So, like, where do you go? Where do you go with that?
You just try not to think about it and just live today,
Like, it's like, how do you... You're strong.
You can't think about it because how it would make you crazy. Like, how do you? I do. I struggle with it. On a daily basis. It is something that consumes me. But you have to live your life.
How do you say? It's like you can't say either one. It's freaking. It sucks.
It is a terrible place to be.
And not just for one child.
The great thing about Silas is I foresee a normal future for him. I see him more gifted than anything, and maybe we have another little Elon Musk in our future. So I do and I don't, because for a while I thought, at least we have Silas, he can help take care of Sheldon, and Isaiah can help take care of Sheldon, so I thought he has his brothers. But then when Silas was diagnosed, I thought, is he going to be able to help take care of him? Is he going to be functioning enough to be able to do that? And
I want to backtrack just a little bit, because you were talking about your son that's okay. That doesn't
my
have
typical developing son.
17-year-old.
Yeah.
You also have to think about, on top of that, you also have to think about the fact that, okay, once I'm gone, my son, he loves his brothers, and he's going to feel obligated, and not just obligated, he's going to want to be there for his brothers. But you also have to think about it from a mother's standpoint. Man, my son will not have his 20s to...
My son won't have the same, although I hope that I'm around as long as I can. Yeah. Isaiah, exactly. he never has had a normal life. He's been having to help and take care of his brothers. Well. Yeah, it is sad. It's sad because for all of them, no one gets... The last time I had a boy growing up as a boy mom, a typical boy mom where we did the boy things, was my son. And then that halted essentially because he became such a helper for us with the kids. What are some of the things that you can admit that because of your special needs children that you are lacking in with your 17-year-old? Like, what are the things that it breaks your heart that you have to lack in? And you have no choice. Everything. For example, he plays baseball, and to take both of my kids out and sit on the bleachers with him during a game, that would be impossible. So I either just have to sit in the car with them the whole time and watch the game from the car, or, we just can't make the game, And so that little thing right there, it kills me every time that I can't be out there with all the other parents, watching him with his brothers, watching him, all of that, we don't get that same normal. Does that sometimes get you into a mode to where you just feeling man, me as a mom, I'm not his mom, I'm not being his mom enough? Or I think I have been a mom for 17 years, almost 18 years. Yeah. And the one thing I have tried my hardest to do is not beat myself up over being a normal human parent, mom. I'm not perfect. I will never be perfect. And that's okay. I'm fine with that. I do my best. I make sure my kids know that I love them. I would do anything for them. I try to be as present as possible. And, that's all I can do while still taking care of myself and not letting go of who I am, because I'm not just a mom. I have my own dreams and aspirations.
And that's another thing. It's
right.
like you said, it changed the family dynamic. It changed personal dynamics.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you have to put away so much of yourself in order to be there for your kids. And also you still want to give yourself something because that's how you keep yourself sane.
Yeah, you can't just, everything can't go for your kids. Otherwise, you won't be able to give your all to your kids if you're not keeping yourself up. That was one of the reasons why I opened this studio, honestly, is because working a normal job, what job is going to allow me to take 2 weeks off when my son is in the hospital back-to-back months or whatever the case may be. We're blessed, that my husband's able to have an amazing job that takes care of us.
That's a blessing.
And
that's a blessing.
that we can have options like this so that I have something to do as well.
To take you away, because you need to be, even just being here right now, that's just like, I got to go do a podcast. I got to go tell my story.
Exactly. I didn't have to just be there cleaning up after kids or mommy. Yeah. Exactly. And I am, I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm a selfish person. And, that is a hard place to be too when you have kids, because you have to really give them a lot of yourself, and you have to do it in a loving, caring way, and in a way that you don't have any resentment, because your kids are everything. They're a part of you. They're a reflection of you, so if I want to have my own and maintain myself and have that level of like not a mom life, which I'm always a mom, but I have to, make sure that I also am doing my part when it comes to being a mom. So I try to balance it all, because I'm like I said, I'm not just a mom.
So like when people, because the world can be cruel. So like when people are like non-empathetic or not sensitive to your children's needs and just can be so mean and staring and things, like how do you handle that type of things? Like what's that?
Oh, well, fortunately, I think the world is coming around a little bit, and my kids are really cute. So
gotcha.
They have like big heads of curly hair, so they're more of like an attraction, and people are drawn to them. But I'll be honest, it's one of the reasons I homeschool them, because
you're protecting them from the world. The world's cruel, man.
Yeah, I remember, and I know I may be a helicopter parent for doing it, but they're not typically developing people. So why would I expose them to like the harshness or the, just meanness that can be? And I remember, in school, and I may have trauma from being bullied, in school, but
and you weren't in special needs. Like, just imagine what
I
you
remember
went through
how
sometimes.
they were treated, the children in the special needs class by the normal kids, and it all came down. This was many years ago. I have seen many moons in my life, but. So in that day and age, it was still okay to like use the R word. It was common. I mean, I even still hear it thrown around, in today's world. I think people are a little bit more aware, of different special needs and neurodiversities that is normal. That has always been. Because
to me, using the R word is equivalent to using the N word to someone who's of a different ethnicity. So it's just like, those are certain things you shouldn't and you can't say, because you don't know who you're around when you're saying these words. Like, you don't know, like, we could be somewhere in public at a basketball game or something. I'm sitting next to you and I'm just R. And then you're getting offended by it because you're just like, you're basically throwing that term around and you don't know who you're around, and you don't care.
It's such an offensive term.
It's very offensive.
And it's actually a medical term, when you use it for the right
it's a medical term, but
people
we take
don't use
things
it,
and we make them, like, half of the cuss words that we use weren't curse words.
No.
So it's like,
we definitely use it for a purpose that is not in a positive light or to shed a positive light. And I am very quick to like, hey, that's just a word that shouldn't be used anymore. And, I don't ever want to make people feel bad, because a lot of times it's just, they've never
out
been
of habit.
exposed. Right. There's a habit. You just teach. There's always an opportunity to educate someone who maybe doesn't understand. And I basically use it as that. Unfortunately, like I said, we've only had a lot of positive experiences because it can be pretty crazy when we're out. My son is very vocal with, sounds and things. And so you may hear us in the grocery store from, aisles away because of my son.
That's I was going to ask you that too about like your experience publicly with your son, because you don't want to hide your kid from the world.
Never.
You want to protect them from the world, but you don't want to hide your kid from the world, because this is you had this kid, you held this baby for 8-9 months.
Yeah. I have no shame. He's just like I see any other person or
so
child.
It's like you're not hiding your kid from the world. So like, how is that in public? Because you was getting ready to go into that.
I think that a lot of it is just more stress on myself, because either I don't want him touching things because, I don't want him getting sick, or, I don't
weaken the immune system.
Right, exactly. Or I don't want, him disturbing people. For instance, if we were to go to church or something, it would be, I try to be also respectful, because although he doesn't know, to an extent he does, and I can, make sure to control. But I'm a shameless person, and I do not care. When I walk into a room, I command respect in it, no matter if it's a grocery store or exactly. So that's right. That's, it helps.
You said that it's not that he doesn't know. So you're able to identify, because this is your child. You've been with him his whole life. So you're able to identify things that he do know right from wrong. So you know that there's some things.
Oh yeah. Okay. In some senses, I'm like, there's the 10-year-old in there.
Somewhere.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
He definitely knows when he's being naughty. It's almost like a little toddler or a little puppy.
Okay.
It's sad as, I don't want to compare my son to a little puppy, but yeah, they understand when you're, telling them they're not supposed to be doing something, or to be a little quieter, because he'll get very excited. And he doesn't know how to control his emotions, whether it's sadness or happiness.
Yeah, that's a thing with autistic kids. Like every emotion is like elevated.
Extreme.
So like if they're happy to see you, or if they're angry, or if they're just overstimulated, it's like everything is heightened. Like I could be happy. Like right now, I'm happy to do this podcast. But if they were happy to do this podcast,
it'd be bouncing around or flapping.
You see what I'm saying? Yes. They're unable to control these emotions.
Oh yeah.
Like,
my 6-year-old has he's a much better, like I said, he's a little more high functioning on the autism spectrum. So he's a little bit better, but he has little temper tantrums. For instance, if he doesn't like the underwear I'm giving him, he will just melt down and throw himself on the floor, and it's just the end of the world.
And it's also little, because I've been around autistic kids and stuff like that, and it's like, it's little things that they like, that if it's the slightest change, that would throws everything off. Like even having a break in school.
Oh yeah.
It's like when school starts back, it might be a meltdown. It's because it's like routine is everything for them.
Routine is everything. Yeah. From their food. That's why they have so many food aversions, because
what color something is.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And they're very particular a lot of times. Everything, and so those are all little quirks that they have. It can be hard sometimes, but otherwise, go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off. No. One thing I do notice about autistic kids is always one thing that they're real good at, and whatever thing that they like, they have the best memory about it.
Oh yeah.
Say I met a autistic kid one time that he was just so into like numbers, and like he can remember multiplication times tables, and some kids they into games, but they don't take it to where, like, if you say you're into cameras, the updated cameras and stuff like that. But they'll go to the history of cameras.
Oh, yes.
You see what I'm saying?
It's so much depth. It's almost like the way they can't control their emotions.
They can't control what they like.
Everything is so heightened. Detailed. My son just knows everything about every planet, every dinosaur, but then, if you ask him to say his name to you, he won't. So, but then he's like, this is a whatever dinosaur. I'm like,
but he's right about it. That's the crazy
part. Or he's drawing it, or he's doing multiplication, and I'm like, okay, well, and how old are you? And he's like, so it's wild.
They like what they like, and if they're not interested, they can't control that they're not interested. Like us, me and you
can
we
fake
can act
it.
like,
Yes.
they can't fake it. Like if something's wrong with your hair, they'll say it.
It is. Like I'm bumping the mic. It's honestly a joy because you have just like this authenticity that no one else is going to give you.
Wow. That's a good perspective. That's crazy. Yeah. It's because like you out in the world, we never get the real nothing.
Oh no.
We never get the real, but with your son or with any autistic person, you're going to get the real.
Best part in my opinion is, and I feel like through life, I've had many autistic friends, and they say autism is genetic. Mm-hmm. And I have questioned whether I may be on some level of on the spectrum. So yeah, because I do a lot of things that I'm like, wait a second, I think that was weird, but it's like I can't help myself.
What? It's because we're trained that you can't know that you are. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, if I have an issue, I can't know that I have autism.
Right.
Like you meet somebody that has autism. Oh, I have this thing called autism. What it is that's on the spectrum, and they're more like what's the word I'm looking for?
Just more higher functioning.
Yeah, more high functioning. Right. If they tell you they have it, is like they can control that. That doesn't mean that they can. You can know that something is
right. I don't think my middle son, my 10-year-old, knows. Okay. He is definitely in his own world.
Well, of course, when you have lower functioning, you know when they know.
Silas, my 6-year-old, I don't think he's also he's not at a point where he'll understand
but
yet.
Do you think that by the time he gets 17 or 18, he'll be like, I'm dead?
He'll know. Okay. Oh yeah, he'll know for sure. And just like some of us have that own awareness within ourselves, like, I'm definitely not like other people.
But you know what? You're a creative. I'm a creative. We're different.
Creatives
something wrong with us.
I would say. And it's just there's this neurodiversity that we all have. We are all neurodiverse because we all have our own brains that think its own way.
You know something else about creatives though? I was talking to a friend about this. We don't mind struggling if it means we can do what we want, what we love, or what we want to do.
It's true.
And people don't understand
doing
that. We'll sleep in a car if we can.
Or not only that, the struggle of doing it. We'll stay up hours editing things or doing podcasts all night just to get the footage.
It is 10:08.
It's fine. This is just a little past my bedtime. It's good, but you're taking me out of, the routine. So this, like you said earlier, this is just it's a joy to do something like this. Yeah.
When it comes to having special needs kids and things like that, what are some misconceptions that people have about being a parent of special needs kids, and also what are some misconceptions of special needs people or kids? Period.
Gosh, that's such a hard question, I think, because I don't want to put myself into other people's shoes and what they're experiencing. But I know personally what I thought about people with special needs. You don't think about the little things, like how it may affect their siblings, or how it may, little things like my 10-year-old's still in diapers. You never imagine you're still in diapers at 10 years old. So those things like finances and the husband and wife, trying to keep things happy and be on the same page when it comes to parenting and doing. Yeah. So there are a lot of things where we want to just kind of think about the disease itself or the condition itself. And how maybe that affects, but it's like we mentioned, it affects everyone's life. It affects so many different aspects of the life. So I think the biggest misconception I had personally was just a lack of understanding of everything that goes into it. It goes into raising children with special needs.
Does it make you more like when you plan something? Do you think of the outcome more like as in like, okay, when you were having kids, you never thought about the fact that this could happen or things like that. So does it make you more humble when you're making plans in life? Like, okay, let me not think that everything's gonna go, it's not in my hands.
Yeah, I definitely am I definitely, you're smacked in the face like, whoa, things are not perfect. You're not going to have this perfect life. And when people say life is hard and maybe you've never experienced real hardships in life and you can't really understand it, and you realize it's almost like this awareness comes over you. Like,
that's why I tell people, like, in my life, my family, my mom, my family members is like, they always like, man, I hate my life, or I can't go, but you have your health.
Yeah.
You have your health, and the people that you love right now, your mom has the health, your kids have the health. At the end of the day, it's like things could be so much worse. And you're like, okay, say I met you and I was just somebody who life wouldn't go right. And all I know about you is the fact that you have a collab studio, you have a husband who can provide for you and your family and things like that. But I don't know what goes on. I'm coming here, I'm like, man, I've been trying to start a business for this long and it hasn't happened for me. And I'm looking at you like you have it all together.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Winging it.
And I'm judging my life by something you don't know. And I want to be you. I'm wishing that I was in your place. Do you though?
Yeah.
Do you wish you was in my place?
Do you really? That's the thing, is you never take your own things and what you're doing for granted, because we all do everything in our own time, you know, in what we're able to. This is something I wish I could have done, 6+ years ago, but I couldn't. I was open
your studio. Okay.
Right. So everything happens for you in the right time. And if you live in that, my life sucks, nothing ever goes right for me and all that, you are the main driver of your life.
And you have to change your perspective on things too as well. Perspective can kill, like, and what else kills is comparing yourself to other people. Hugely. And I was watching a podcast one time and it was just like, I don't know, I can't remember what I was watching because I watch so much.
Yeah, I bet.
I don't watch, I listen because I'm always editing and stuff. But and he was just like, okay, you don't like your life? Put your problems down right now, and would you be willing to pick up someone else's? But I get to choose whose problems you pick up. Would you agree to that?
Yeah. No.
Would you agree to that? Even
your life starts looking a little better.
Yeah. The people who are watching and listening to this podcast right now might be like, man, her life is that's tough. That's tough. But you might think your life is tough. But would you want to let me choose someone else's problems?
Heck no.
And pick it up. You see what I'm saying?
And I think, like I said, I take it all in stride. It may seem tough to the outside person because you haven't had to deal with all of the things, but we manage it every day and we're happy. And,
that's good.
We all just kind of have our routine and go with it the best way we can so that we try to stay positive. It's like you said, it can really crush your dreams if you live in fear or doubt or, constant negativity. And let me tell you, I am always afraid. I live in fear and doubt and negativity. No, I'm kidding. I just don't let it consume me. And I try to use it as a stepping stone to just like, how can I overcome this fear? How can I use this fear to benefit myself? Having my son and all of his health problems, I was so afraid to open this place. As a matter of fact, I wanted to open in December and have everything ready and have that as our kind of soft opening. But he ended up in the hospital and it shut everything down for weeks. And so that was a huge fear. Like, what happens when we're fully in this thing and I have clients using the space and
you can't be there and
I can't be there or what?
Yeah.
So there's like all this doubt that comes in, but it's like, if I lived without doubt, we wouldn't be here right now. So you
have to, it's good to have people like your husband and people just supportive.
The support is huge.
That's great. And let's get on a more upbeat. Like, so we've talked about, the stresses and the stuff about, how it can be tough, but let's talk about what are some things that you notice, even though your son, like you said, is at a 2-3 year level right now. But what are some things that you noticed in him that get you excited that, oh, that's an advancement. That's better than yesterday. Like, it is because your child. I know there's something that you're just happy. Okay, at least he, I don't know, raised up. I don't know. Like, what are those things?
Well, he calls me mom.
He
calls me mama.
Okay.
So that's
a big
new.
Thing?
Yeah,
that's
in 10 years.
Within the last, a year or so, 2 years?
Probably a little less than a year.
Less than a year? So it took him 10 years to say mom.
Yeah.
And cried.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm getting twinkly thinking about it. So it's like,
yeah, I remember when he was little baby, and I thought he doesn't smile at me. He won't smile, and I would ask, the members of the group. There's groups, of course, for Williams.
Of course,
and
you
your
have to be in stuff like that,
right? And they would say, just he'll do things in his own time, and now 10 years into this, and I'm a member of the group still, and I see new parents with their newly diagnosed children, and it's like, hey, we don't know what's gonna be of them. You don't know now. You don't know in a year. You don't know in 5 years.
So we never know. He has smiled now.
He smiles now, yeah. So this was when he was a baby. Okay. Oh God, does he smile now? Okay. He's the happiest guy all the time ever. But like I said, he just started saying "mama" in a sense where it's like he's calling for me.
So he knows who his mom is, and he can, when he wants you, he can call.
Yes,
mama.
same with dad. So he just started doing it with dad too. So, and when we're there with him, so if he's sitting he'll look at us and he'll say, "Mommy," and look at dad and daddy. Like it's this awareness within himself now as well. Like
being self-aware.
I know that this is my mom and dad, and yeah, that was an amazing feeling that we just recently got to experience. And the same thing with like giving us a hug. He didn't understand that, and really doesn't want anybody hugging on him. So a hug was just kind of like a push stiff. But he has started to come up and embrace us in this, what we call is a hug from him. And yeah, so those are things that you never think about,
The small things. Right. Like a lot of people are complaining about
worried about things. If they can read or if they're going to.
You just want him to say mom or just acknowledge your existence.
Yes.
Acknowledge your presence.
Yes.
Be emotionally attached to you as you are to him.
Yes.
And that's something that people think so simple, but you waited 10 years for that.
Yeah.
And you have mothers their child is in the second grade and can't read yet, and it's like, really? Can't read? I just want mine to say the word read.
I know. That's
know what I'm saying? Like
I'm like, that's why it's hard to relate to a lot of moms because, they'll be like, oh, well, when do you start potty training? We're trying to potty. And I'm like, I don't know, we're trying to potty train, but here we are 10 years later and it's, still a struggle. So it's hard to relate in that sense because for so long we've always kind of like grouped kids into like, well, what are their abilities based off of their age? And we're now realizing that because there's so many different functioning levels of children, everyone isn't going to be the same. And so to be like, well, when is my son going to do this? Or will he ever do that? Or I just try not to think like that. I just think, what is he able to do? How can I support him in the best way for what he's able to do? Same thing with Silas. How can we just support them so that, they are happy and content and have the, best ability to thrive with what they're able to,
Got you. I want to ask you, like, with the support with autistic, do you think that we are at a time where the awareness and the support is where you want it to be, or is headed to the direction where you want it to be? Is it getting better?
Yeah, I think that unfortunately in this area, there isn't a lot of
places. Yes, like learning centers for kids with autism, because like they basically place them with, like what I like the word that you use when you use like he's not a
typical developing.
Yeah, I like that word. Yeah, that's way better than saying normal. I don't like
and see, this is helping you to have an awareness of how to kind of refer.
I know that I didn't want to say normal. I always know that, but I didn't know what to say. So you taught me what
normal,
to say. Yeah, what is normal? Because people might think I'm not normal. Look at me.
Exactly.
I'm sitting here doing the podcast, talking professional, and I have locks. And you see what I'm saying? I'm a black.
Nothing wrong with that.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like
that's all
the idea of a black man with locks is, oh, he must be this and that. So whatever.
Yeah, that's a stereotype that it's unfortunate that people don't.
I deal with it all the time.
Yes,
so
of course,
it's whatever.
I bet.
But so you're helping me with the words and the terminology to use this more respectful. But what I was about to say.
Even I don't know those sometimes. And I have children. That's one thing when you talked about misconception. As a mom of 2 special needs kids, I sometimes feel like, well, goodness, am I using the wrong things? Am I being, inconsiderate? And I'm like, I live this every day. So how can I possibly be
offensive?
right?
You're not trying to offend anybody.
But then if you look at what is broadcast, out on platforms where we watch content, I would be. I mean,
Well, the world is becoming very, very sensitive as well. So that's another topic.
That's another topic. We won't go there. But yeah, it's hard. I'm like, I live this. Like, I'm as sensitive as it comes to all people, all races, all neurodiversities, all levels of anything, income, whatever it is,
But what I was about to say, to piggyback off what you said about this area not having places for autistic kids, not just special needs kids, period, but mainly autistic, because I noticed that it's been more and more autistic kids.
I think it's just more awareness of it.
Oh,
I think it's always
been a thing.
Oh yeah.
So what it is
100%.
we've, like, when I was in middle school, because I can think we had a lot of different kids. But that's what it was.
They just classified and grouped them because they just didn't have really anything to call it.
Well, they had it, but we wasn't aware of it.
In autism, yeah, I mean, it's been here forever. I think just as your hair is brown and my hair is brown, and it is just a way that we come out sometimes.
And again, about the fact that there's not a lot of things, because we get into a situation to where they place them with the other kids and stuff like that, and just leave them out, or put them in special ed, or put them in AB unit and stuff like that, and just putting them, just placing them somewhere, without acknowledging the problem, and also getting teachers that are certified to work with these type of people. That's a lot. That's why a lot of parents are scared to even let their kids go to school. Yeah, like you said, you want to homeschool, which is the best thing for your child at this moment anyway. But like, imagine if your 10-year-old was more developed. You would want him to be able to go out, but you still wouldn't trust it, because especially in this area,
I think that the only reason I don't is because of that. Is just the level there. It's lacking, and it's unfortunate, and that's pretty much all I can say about it. I know that different parts of the country have different resources for it, but unfortunately it's not here. And maybe they'll come around, but it's always been a thing. That was one of the things that prevented us from living in Texas when we first found out about the diagnosis, is just the lack of resources for disabled people and people who need a little bit of extra help.
So what are some things that you think can be implemented in this area, or schools and things like that, to help special needs kids and stuff like that?
Things that can be put in place to help special needs kids and just neurodiverse kids definitely are more centers. I know that one of the centers here, the Shorkey Center, is struggling financially and having to do a lot of fundraising.
It's in this area,
okay. Yeah. And I think they've even cut their age group, so they only take young kids. So the need for places for older kids with autism and adults with autism, I don't think I don't think it exists here. I could be wrong, but
well, it's not in the forefront. It's not.
No, it's definitely not. There isn't anything saying this is available. Of course, there are groups and all of those kind of things that help, on a supportive level. A lot of times for the parents, I don't know that there are so many things that help the individual themselves.
Got you. And also, I want you to any family or parent who may be dealing with a child with special needs or autism or anything like that, can you give a little advice as to what they can do to just make it another day,
I think the best advice I can give to another parent who has a child with special needs, or maybe a newly diagnosed child with special needs, is to just take it every day. Don't compare them to your other children, yourself, children you see. Be a little bit more considerate to others who may not have exposure to people with, diverse needs. And so maybe they don't know how to act or to be around them, and not to take so much offense to, just people navigating life, because everyone's living their own lives and we're just a part of it, you know, in the grand scheme of things. I think that, you know, stay strong and do the best you can, because it's going to be stressful and you're going to feel like you're failing a lot. But, you know, the best success can come out of failure. And, you know, you just use it to keep going and provide them everything you can to help them, you know, grow and thrive in life.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I want to thank everyone for watching. And I want to thank you for being here, because I know, like, it's just being able to come here and tell your story, that's not easy always. But I'm happy to be able to give you the platform to do so. And I'm happy that you came on the platform. So thank you. Thank you for doing that.
I really appreciate
laying your guard down.
Yeah, giving kind of a different perspective to your podcast.
Yeah, I love that.
To shed a different light on it. Because, yeah, it's, you know, like I said, I never live in a woe is me. I never feel sorry for myself. You know, I just try to take the best approach at my life as I can to keep everyone happy who's a part of it, and in a way that I can, and just, you know, thrive. That's the best thing I can do, is keep thriving.
And also, I want to thank you guys for watching the B4Real Podcast. And the B4Real Podcast is available on anywhere you watch your favorite podcast or listen to your favorite podcast. That's Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you listen. And if you're in a car, just give it a listen. If you're one of those people who actually watch podcasts, we are on YouTube as well. And until next time, be for real. Appreciate you.